It finished. West Ham United won. Bournemouth 0. An undeserved win. A ridiculous win, really. It was a very, very dull game, I think, and we're going to discuss that. And then, as if the night weren't bad enough, ended well, but it was on the way home. Had to listen to the draw, and literally, this is midnight. We're getting on and recording this. Going to publish it in the morning. So, morning, everyone. I hope you didn't get too bored watching that game last night. So, Chris, good evening.
Good evening and good morning for those watching.
Yeah. So we saw each other a couple of times in the ground today at half time and before the game, and I think we compared notes a little bit. And at half time, I think the conversation went a little bit like, "What the bloody are we going to talk about on the match review?"
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. What a game! What a game! I mean, yeah, it was a very interesting affair tonight. Let's put it that way. I think probably one of the worst games I've seen for a while. Actually, to be fair.
It was a bit reminiscent of last season. I'm not going to say that was Moyes ball, but it was close to it. It was close to it. I mean, it was, and I don't know how much of it was instruction and how much of it was some of the players reverting to their default mode, like the way they played last year. And you know, I think we discussed Ward-Prowse and Souček a lot. I don't like to see them in the same team. I never do. It fills me with dread. Especially when that is pretty much the central midfield pivot, the defensive midfield pivot, which is assuming that's what they were doing. I'm not 100% sure of the formation, but that's what it looked like to me. It looked like 4 at the back, 2 in front of them, 3 and 1. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it did. And, you know, obviously you and I spoke about this before the game started when we looked at the lineup. And I think we were kind of unanimous in our agreement that we felt that our team was certainly more than strong and capable enough to win that game fairly convincingly. I personally thought that we would win 3-0, right? I did. I could see goals in it. I looked at the Bournemouth team sheet versus our team sheet, and we had by far, if you look at the quality of the names, the better team. We did. But Bournemouth were actually the better team on the day. They were.
They played really well. They were right up for it. I think defensively they were there for the taking a little bit, but I think from an attacking perspective, I thought they really caused us a lot of problems.
They did, but you could see where it was happening, you know, time and time again, as it has, you know, for the last couple of games, and also towards the back end of last season with Soufal. He's always going to be a target because obviously with the new system that we play, he does seem to be a little bit further advanced as a fullback, which is obviously Lopetegui's style, but it doesn't necessarily suit Soufal. You know, Wan-Bissaka on the left was an interesting one. Obviously, we know that Creswell pulled out injured, I think, just before the game. So to see him at left back was it was interesting. I didn't necessarily expect to see that. I thought maybe they'd put Emerson there as a straight like-for-like replacement, a left back, but they didn't. It was an interesting game. When you try and dissect it, it's a very, very interesting game to look at because, yeah, I mean, I thought Wan-Bissaka actually had a good game. He's probably one of our better players, probably one of the positives, actually.
He's one of 2 that I pick out, actually. I think Fabianski being the other one. I thought Fabianski saved us a couple of times, kept us in the game, really. And one of those was just before half-time from a shot where he really, really strong hand, great reflexes, got down and made a marvelous save right in front of us, actually. Yeah. And that was the first time he saved us, and he went on to save us when he got kicked by Tavernier or Tavernier, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
He came out and actually smothered the ball in the second half, didn't he? He basically put his head in the way of his boot, I think.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Fabianski was probably one of the positives, definitely. For me, the man of the match was Kilman by far. You know, you can see his quality. He was our best player on the night. Yeah. Obviously, I think some of the changes that we made obviously had an impact towards the back end of the game, particularly Kudus. Paqueta was obviously threading some nice balls through. So that did make a difference. But I think if you judge it throughout the whole 90 minutes, for me, Kilman was our best player. He was definitely our best player.
What do you think of what you saw in the new boys? So you saw Todibo in the first half. He was withdrawn at half-time. What do you think?
Do you know, for the first 10 minutes, and I know it doesn't sound very long, I thought, you know what, he looks all right. He looks pretty composed. You know, I like the fact that he was taking his time. He turned a couple of their players a few times, which I thought this is quite interesting.
Yeah.
But then he faded out, right? He did fade out for me. I I don't think he didn't have a terrible game. I'm wondering whether he took a knock. I know he got a card, didn't he? I was wondering whether he took a knock, which was perhaps maybe the reasons why they subbed him at half time. But he did fade a little bit, and I thought he looked a little bit shaky at times at the back. I don't know your opinion on this, but I did think that, towards the back end of the first half, I wasn't overly convinced by him. I was at the beginning, but that could be due to lack of match fitness and what have you, right? That could well be that. That's my opinion on Todibo. As I said, I've already mentioned about Wan-Bissaka. I thought he had a good game.
Playing at left back rather than right back. I mean, he can defend anywhere, can't he?
Oh, I mean, honestly, some of the challenges he put in tonight were exceptional. But you could see what Bournemouth were doing. They were targeting our left hand side because they knew. They had.
Do you remember that one in the second half? The clean tackle that he made in the second half. It's like absolutely outstanding. That was pinpoint accuracy.
He did, and I think he had a couple of moments where he bombed forward as well. Actually, where he actually looked a bit threatening on the left hand side, which was probably a bit alien for him in terms of how he's used to be playing. At Man United. Yeah. But he did well. I thought he did well. He didn't. I thought he was certainly one of the positives. Him, Kilman, Fabianski. Let's talk about Somerville. What did you think of Somerville?
Somerville. I'm still of the opinion that he's quite lightweight. That's just. I think he comes across differently on TV to what he does in the flesh. Because when I saw him against Villa, I thought he looked quite lightweight, and people were raving about him. Like I watched him on telly, so I don't know. But twinkle toes, he does a lot of good things, a lot of positives. He very nearly scored in the second half. Great little shot, wasn't it? But in the first half, he blazed one that hit the astronaut, didn't it? It was that was a layback from Fulkrug, a layoff from Fulkrug. He belted that. I do like it when he runs into the box because that kind of pace really panics defenders. I do wonder as well, though, whether he is prone to hold on to the ball for a bit too long.
Yeah, I think actually I agree with you. I like the way he moves with the ball. Yeah. That being said, I don't feel as if he had enough of the ball in the first half anyway. It wasn't coming down on his side too frequently. So that was a bit frustrating because I think we all wanted to see him on the ball just to see what he could do with it. But I would certainly agree with you. I think he does appear to be quite lightweight. I think he's going to need to bulk up and get used to the physicality of playing against Premier League teams and Premier League opposition. There's no doubt about that. I must admit, the shot that you're referring to in the first half that he blazed over is like I think we said this at half time, very reminiscent of like Ben Rama. Because he always had that ability to kind of take on and run past players, but it was always the end product, which kind of let him down a bit.
I don't know how you can say that because he missed that shot at pace, a damn sight faster than Ben Rama ever would.
Yeah, it's probably a fair point. But I mean, it was an awful shot, wasn't it? It really was. It
was. The crowd expected him to hit the target with that one, and there was oh my fucking god, when he blasted it, he blazed it. He clearly just leant back and whacked it, didn't he? Shame. I like him. I like his ambition. I don't think he got on the ball enough in the first half, and I don't think I think that was reminiscent of the midfield that we had out. There was literally nothing but long balls going forward. There was no, he needed the ball to feet. What's his name? Fulkrug up front was isolated. I mean, and getting no service. Bowen was really doing the babysitting job on Soufal again. Soufal was running up and down, the line, trying to keep up with the very pacey winger who was leaving him in his. I mean, he was always treading water trying to catch him, wasn't he? But yeah, I think what you said about Kilman, I'd totally agree with that. I think he's been like the best. He was the best player for me. He's played 3 marvelous games so far. Played really well. Yeah. We've signed a proper player there. He's the standout in that defence. I think when changes happened, when Ward-Prowse went off, I wonder what this is the thing. I'm confused, right? Sorry for my enormous collar, by the way. This is the 1980 FA Cup final shirt. I used to have this as my first ever kit, but it used to have the round badge on it, right? I don't remember the collar being this fucking big. It's like massive. Look.
I was going to say, that's not the one that the physical one that you had in 1980, clearly, right?
Well, no, that wouldn't fit me left.
Didn't want to say.
Yeah, you're calling me fat, Chris. But anyway, it was. I think this is out of proportion. I think these are rejects they're selling in that shop.
Where'd you buy it from? Wish?
Fuck off. I bought this from the official West Ham United shop. for God knows how much money.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's got an enormous collar. I'm thinking of cutting it down to about there. Right? But anyway, not that the game was boring, but it was. In the second half, Bournemouth, I mean, the first half, we're thinking, God, we've got to do better than that. You know, giving them the benefit of the doubt and say that was a miserable first half. Surely he'll make some changes and we'll get on the front foot a bit more, because there didn't seem to be any link up between the midfield and the front players. The front players were isolated, all of them, right? That includes Somerville, that includes Bowen, that includes Fulkrug. The Ward-Prowse and Souček didn't seem to know which one of them was going to be further forward than the other. Yeah. I don't know whether Ward-Prowse was put in there as a defensive role, an attacking role. You would have thought it would have been an attacking role, and then Souček would be a defensive role. But even when I was watching both of them, and Souček seemed to gesture to Ward-Prowse to go forward. Ward-Prowse pushed up, and then Souček pushed past him. So I don't know. I don't know what was supposed to be happening there, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't carrying out the instructions. I think there was a little bit of default setting going on there, in that is the way inside their head they're programmed to play when they're playing together. Because Ward-Prowse, last time he came on against Villa, was bringing in, he was like playing up on the edge of the opposition box, bringing players in, you know, really trying to set off attacks. In this game, he was only playing backwards.
Yeah, he was incredibly passive today. I mean, it was backwards or sideways every single time he had the ball. I can't think of any progressive forward passes that he made. I can't. You know, as for Souček, again, I don't want to dig players out. I really don't like to dig players out too much, because he always gets a bad rep, right? We all know that. But he wasn't good tonight. I don't think for Souček this was the ideal type of game for him, because if you are going to play him, and for me, the way I saw it, Gal, was that he did seem to be the further advanced of the midfielders, in my opinion. He did. But if you're going to play him in that position, you need to start, you know, giving him those balls. You need to start pinging crosses in, whatever, right? Utilizing his strengths. But then he did, I agree. I mean, there were times when he was dropping back quite deep as well at times. You know, there were.
Yeah.
So this just was not the right game for Souček at all. He didn't offer anything. And I must admit, I was quite surprised to see him on the pitch for the entire game. I really was. I thought it was time to take him off. JWP, 100% he should have come off. He didn't offer anything progressive. But I'll tell you what, we talk about new players. Rodriguez, for me, what a player he is. His ability to pass that ball. I mean, some of his passing was exceptional. I mean, it really was. And so again, if we're going to talk about positives, you've got to look at him and his ability to ping those balls. It's exceptional.
He's got better with every game. I think people judged him too soon against Villa. He wasn't match fit. He's gradually got his match fitness. I think Edison Alvarez wasn't quite fit today, but he was getting there. I think you're going to see, I would expect anyway, to see Alvarez and Rodriguez playing together against City.
I hope so, because I think they would complement each other really well. You know, with Alvarez clearing up, and with Rodriguez, the ability to, you know, play those balls that he can. His vision's fantastic. I mean, a couple of the passes that he made were just brilliant. They were really, really good.
He is a hell of a player. We've got a player for, you know, we've got a player. I mean, he was free, wasn't he? He was a free transfer. We've got a player there who could probably do us this season and maybe even play a role next season as well. Well, he's 30, right? So of course he can. But he's a very mature, accomplished player. I'm really impressed with him. He's got a head on his shoulders. I think for me so far, when you look at all of the signings, I would say Kilman number 1, Wan-Bissaka number 2. I'd say Rodriguez number 3 at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it seems unfair to base it off of just 3 games, but
yeah, based on
3 games, based on 3 games, I totally agree with you. Again, I like the concept of Rodriguez and Alvarez there, because Alvarez is a lot more. He's got he's got more energy about him. He's got a bit more pace about him. He gets stuck in more. So I think that kind of combination with Alvarez's passing ability will really complement itself really well with them two in a double pivot. I like that a hell of a lot better than I would with JWP and obviously Souček. It would work so much better. But then with that in mind, and we're talking about the City game, if we can get those 2 boys playing against City, we surely got to play Paqueta in the 10. Surely we've got to do that.
You've got to, and that means Souček sits that one out.
Exactly. And I think this is proving to me now, you can kind of see, right, what's been going on over the last 3 games, how we should kind of set up for these games. Yeah. And for me, that would, at the moment, and things may change during the course of the season, for me, that is the midfield for me. You know, it's got to
Yeah.
be Alvarez and Rodriguez. Has to be at the moment. And this is obviously before we hypothetically sign Soler, which hopefully will happen soon. But I do like the idea of them two playing together.
Yeah, I would agree. I think when somebody said something interesting that I heard, can't remember where it was, but they said that the side that beat Crystal Palace is potentially Plan B, the Plan B team, not the Plan A team, and I could go for that. That'd be fine. I don't mind having a Plan B team, you know, because if we are going to bring Soler in, there's no way that Paqueta and Soler don't start. There's no way that Rodriguez don't start. And to me, there's no way that Alvarez doesn't start.
So how do you fit them all in? That's going to be that's the big question, isn't it, really?
Yeah, so Paqueta, Souček, there is no room for him in that team after.
Yeah, well,
there isn't. But he might be a Plan B.
But then if you're talking about playing Alvarez, Rodriguez, Paqueta, and Soler, like you're talking.
No, you can't do all four. You can't do all four.
Exactly.
It'd be Paqueta or Soler, won't it?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the only way you can do it. But what an option to have, right? I mean, you know, whether you bring Soler in off the bench. I mean, look, we don't really know how good he is at the moment, so it's hard, right? We can all kind of debate what we think he can bring. We've all watched the YouTube videos and done a bit of research on him. He looks a good player, but until he puts on the shirt and we see him play, we don't know. We don't know how good he can be for West Ham at the moment. But again, hypothetically, he could be a very good option for us in that kind of central attacking midfield area. He could be.
Yeah, and I think as we saw today, you know, there are a number of players who they've not played in the Premier League before. With Rodriguez, don't matter; he's just ducks of water, right?
Yeah.
But there are going to be some others who are going to take a while, and Todibo is definitely one of them. I agree with you. I don't think he was that impressive today. I think the progressive carries that he was doing early on, he was taking the ball up pitch across the halfway line. I thought, hello, we've got Kilman on the other side.
Yeah.
But defensively, no, he ain't really, is he? And when you look at what happened in the second half, Evan Nilsson came on, didn't he? That one that I thought we were linked with.
Yeah.
Well, we were linked with a couple of weeks ago. They paid 40 million for him. He came on and he had two great chances, didn't he?
He looked decent. He looked very decent. I mean, he again, you know, it's very hard to. I'm trying to remember who he was because he was burning past on that left-hand side, didn't he? I think he had two, as you say, two good opportunities. I think it was when Mavropanos was on the pitch. Actually,
it was. He was giving Mavropanos a torrid time.
Yeah. He was, and there was another player as well. And again, I can't remember the name of him. Another guy on the left-hand side that also was causing Soufal some problems as well. So I think, you know, that was kind of their game plan, if I'm being honest with you, is to kind of basically exploit those kind of, and it is a weakness for us, let's be honest, right? Playing Soufal right back, it is. Wan-Bissaka had a very good game, but he's not a left back. Still had a great game, you know, really did himself justice actually today.
I'm convinced he can play anywhere in defence.
He could do. I mean, I just want to see him at right back now. I want to see him at right back.
Yeah. I think you'll see that. I think you'll see that Saturday. I can't see him. I can't see Lopetegui going into play City with a sort of half-cocked team. I think this is going to be a team that he thinks can cause City trouble. Now, to me, that can't be Thomas Souček in midfield, can it?
Can't be. He has to be dropped for this game. You know, he has to be dropped for this game. I'm aware of some of the qualities that he brings to West Ham for certain games. For certain games. Yeah, but for City, absolutely not. We need to get, you know, our big hitters out there. You know, players that we think can turn the game, you know, in a moment. And that is the likes of Paqueta, Kudus. We need them on the field. And we need them firing. And we need basically a solid base behind them that will enable them to basically attack in those final thirds. Because today, we weren't in their final third, in the final third. Hardly at all. I mean, honestly, it was in the first 2/3 of our pitch where we spent the majority of our game playing backwards and sideways. Yeah. Anything that was going further forward into the final third of the pitch was typically a long ball into Fulkrug. And I felt really sorry for him because actually, I'm not going to say, I can't say he had a bad game. I think he was fit. He was basically fed off scraps, wasn't he? He really was. And it was a really difficult game for him.
He was. And he managed to set up that chance for Somerville. But really, you know, there was nothing. There was nothing that you could hang your hat on and say, he played well. Because I think I don't know. Fulkrug is very much part of a team structure, a team pattern. He's not going to be the sort of player. If we're going to play like that, it's not going to work, right? If we're going to play him like that, it's not going to work. You're better off putting Antonio in that team if you're going to isolate someone up front. Yeah. I hope we don't do that against City. I genuinely do. I'm just looking at the transfer news. 2 clubs showing interest in Aguerd. It looks like, let's just touch on this quickly. Aguerd, there's 2 clubs interested in him. We know that Ward-Prowse is getting interest from Forest. So
yeah, well, it's an interesting one because before the game tonight, I was saying that obviously based on who we're going to be playing is going to be quite indicative of who we're going to probably try and push out of the transfer window, because ultimately they could be cup tied. But Nottingham Forest now makes sense because obviously they got knocked out tonight by Newcastle, right, on penalties. So that I could see happening. Ings obviously didn't even make the bench, so he's got to be on his way out as far as I'm concerned. Aguerd, same applies to him, and Cornet, again, same applies to him. So I think those are the 4 for me that I can see realistically the ones that are going to lead the club.
Zuma passed his medical in Saudi. How the bloody hell did that happen?
I don't know. Honestly, that's incredible, isn't it? It is, but you know what? Good luck to him, and I'll be glad.
Yeah,
I'll be glad once that deal is done, because it just needs to happen now, doesn't it? We need to move on from that and get him off the wage bill. And good luck to him. You know, I love Zuma. I think he did a great job at West Ham, as we said before. But
yeah,
he's not ready for the. He's not ready. You know, good enough for the Prem now, sadly, because of his knees.
No. So I think all in all, I mean that you know that goal that we won with tonight, the Kudus to Bowen off of
cracking goal, wasn't that? What a goal that was!
Cracking goal, slam dunked in off Bowen's arm. No VAR, delightful. I looked over at the VAR area, you know, where they have that screen that you lift up. Bloke weren't there. I mean, that's the only job he's got. Poor fucker. He's now, you know, he had the night off. There's no VAR in the entire competition. You can believe that?
Yeah, no, I know that. And to be honest with you, I thought as soon as we scored that goal, I thought it was going to be chalked off. But then obviously due to the fact there is no VAR, I was like, hold up a minute, we might get away with this one. And I've not seen it back, to be honest with you, Gav. I've not, so I don't know. I've just got back myself from the game. But was it a handball? I mean, is that what they're saying?
I'm just reading what I've, you know, because I haven't seen it back either, but it said it went in off his arm. Now, from behind the goal, it definitely took a massive deflection. When you watched it on the replay on the big screen, it definitely went off Bowen. It didn't show a close-up. Bowen just reeled away and celebrated. The linesman hadn't seen anything. The referee hadn't seen anything. So it was good old days. We're going to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, he smashed that, didn't he? He smashed that. So it happened so quick. It was like, I mean, it was the type of goal that you could see winning this game. It was scrappy as hell, that goal, wasn't it? It was an awful goal, but it was a goal and buzzing to get the win. You know, and as you said at half-time, Gary, I mean, I wasn't overly happy about how we were playing. I wasn't. And I know that this cup game and the most important thing is to get through. But I also wanted to see us playing more of a progressive style of football, which we weren't. I also know that perhaps what we were doing in terms of we had a lot more ball, a lot more of the ball in the first half. It was typically backwards, sideways. And that is a little bit how I've heard Lopetegui likes to play. So I was thinking, wait a minute, maybe that is part of what we're going to have to get used to a little bit. But for me, there just wasn't enough going forward. There wasn't. And a big part of that, and I don't want to dig out Soufal again, I do think Bowen is so restricted. And I know, again, we've said this in the previous games, but every time you play Soufal behind him, he always has to double up and he has to help him out. And it happens far too frequently. Soufal tonight, for me, he was one of the worst players. He was. I've got to say, he was.
It's no coincidence. It is no coincidence that when Soufal plays, Bowen plays poor, right?
Yeah, it's awful.
You know, Wan-Bissaka came on at the weekend, replaced Soufal. Bowen turned into a match winner. Yeah. Right tonight, Bowen was put up front, and Kudus out on the right. So relieved of those duties, immediately turns into a match winner. Right, immediately started getting involved. You lift that weight of those defensive responsibilities away from him. He's a completely different player. And if you're looking for someone who can play a number 10, I wouldn't say Bowen is a striker, but he's always got his head up. He's always looking for opportunities, looking for other players. Unlike Kudus, actually. Kudus is fantastic on the right. I'd keep him on the right. I'd put Bowen in the middle. I'll put Bowen in the middle behind Fulkrug, and then I'll put Somerville on the left or someone else on the left, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I still want to see what Kudus can do for in the middle. I'd love to see him playing in that 10 role. But there's so many different variations that you can play with the team that we've got. We know that there is.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think when Kudus came on, that was a bit of a game changer because he was taking on the full back. He was winning, right? He was winning that battle. But what he wasn't doing as much as Bowen would do is he wasn't dropping back and helping out Sufal as much.
No.
And lo and behold, did you see what happens? When he came on, we'd be an attack more on that right-hand side, on our right-hand side.
Well, exactly like Villa. Exactly like Villa, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But then you don't really want, we don't really want Bowen doing it, but he does it. He's the captain. He wants to get back. He wants to help the team out. So he sacrifices a big part of his game to help out, Sufal. With Kudus, he's much more, I want to attack. I want to attack. He will help out when he needs to, but he's more attack-minded when he plays on that right-hand side. So yeah, I'm with you. I just want to see against City. I've got my idea of a lineup. We can talk about that another time, perhaps, but definitely it would involve playing Kudus. I actually think that maybe Antonio is going to start against City. It's not necessarily what I want, but I think that might well happen. I do.
I think you might be right. Might be right. But that was, to summarise, that was a miserable game of football to watch, wasn't it? I mean, I had a nice night because I was chatting to people. We had a good laugh over there, especially about Zuma's medical. I still don't know how that happened. But yeah, I think all in all, it was a good night out. There was some good people at football. There was a decent crowd there. There was lots of kids there inside the ground, weren't there? Which I really like to see. What other chance do they get? But they were there in their thousands, 51,000, I think, inside the ground. So it was a good turnout. There weren't any big gaps or anything, was there? And every now and then it sprung into life. They tried to get behind the team, but there wasn't really much to get behind. I've got to be honest. No. I'm just glad that it's over and we're in the next round. But what was the fucking point? Because the League Cup is fixed. It's a fix. I only heard this tonight when I was watching Anton on the West Ham Network, and he for the draw on the way home, and he said that the top 6 teams in the league who are playing in Europe have got special dispensation. Not only do they get away with playing in round 2, but in round 3, they took part in a secret draw earlier behind the scenes where 4 of them were drawn at home, basically on the premise that they're not drawn against each other because there's some kind of fucking commitment in Europe. Yeah, what a load of old crap.
Yeah, it's a load of bullshit. It's completely unfair. I don't even have the words to articulate it. I don't. But this is the thing. For us to get Liverpool, okay, I still haven't recovered from Liverpool away last year, Gal. I went to.
I know you went up there. You went up there just a week before Christmas. I know you took your boy, didn't you?
I did. I can't. I'm thinking of going again. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm clearly nuts. I'm genuinely thinking of going again.
Because you're a West Ham supporter, you think something good might happen.
I've been thinking this for, God knows how many years. Do you know what I mean? We've won once in my lifetime at Anfield. Once. Once in your lifetime as well, right?
Might be twice now, Chris. It might be twice.
I was saying the same thing in December, Gal, when we had them in the cup. Yeah. And this is the thing. We always have the optimism, and we always do have that optimism about maybe this could be the time. My son's the worst for it, and if he watches
new manager, Arnie Slot, he's back to play a reserve team, isn't he?
But they don't look. They're looking pretty good. They did. Salah, he's looking really good. Honestly, it's going to be tough. Let's be honest about it. It's going to be really tough. And if we play anything like we did tonight with that lineup, then we don't stand a chance in hell of getting through to the next round. But it's just. I was happy when we finished that game today. It was a shit game. We didn't deserve to win, in my opinion. We didn't, but we won. And great, we're into the hat. We're going to be in the next round.
Back-to-back wins against Premier League opposition, Chris.
Oh, yeah, but to have Liverpool, my analogy is this, Gal, right? I said to Fred on the way home, I said, it's funny with West Ham in cup competitions. It's like the worst team that you can pull, right? One of the worst teams you can pull, whether it's going to be a Man City or a Liverpool, we always tend to get them, particularly Man United. We know that. We've had them time and time again. But it's like hitting the green, like the green 0 on a roulette wheel. We always seem to hit it every time we get to, in a cup competition. We always get one of those teams. It's bollocks. Why? For me, this was the one competition I wanted us to really have a go at this year. But this just makes it incredibly hard. I will stay optimistic, but right now I'm deflated by getting Liverpool because we know it's one hell of an ask. It's such a big ask. But new manager, new players, new team. We still got effectively.
I think we've got to look. We can't lose sight that we are just 3 short games in, right? we've won 2 of them by hook or by crook. Didn't deserve to win today. Bournemouth probably deserves to win today, let's be honest. But nonetheless, who cares? How many times have we lost a game that we deserve to win? So who cares, right? A win's a win. That's all that matters in the cup. I think the way they have fixed this draw in this competition to keep them all apart is just diabolical. How the bloody hell are they getting away with stuff like this?
Yeah.
They're just ruining this great old competition. You know, I spoke the other day about 1972 and West Ham against Stoke and 7 hours of football to get through a semi-final. Well, now, not only do these top teams, right, we had to play in round 2 back then. Not only do these top teams get away with round 2, round 3 is fixed. Arsenal at home to Bolton, you know, Spurs away to Coventry.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, and then yet again, we get drawn away to, you know, we wouldn't run one round and get drawn against, you know, one of the big 6 or one of the big 3.
Yeah, I know.
It's pathetic. It's fucking pathetic. How do they get away with ruining this competition so much? You know, the FA Cup would be next because it's all that matters to these people is Europe. That's literally all that matters. Yeah. And they don't want anybody else in their club. They really only want one of the big boys to win any of these trophies, right? These domestic trophies. And yeah, it's just I find it really infuriating, demeaning to the competition. You know, demeaning to the competition. Every round in this competition, or the first, I think the second round used to be a 2-legged affair. There were, you know, the semi-finals a 2-legged affair. Was there a time when it was all 2-legged? I can't remember. Don't think there was there?
I remember when it was 2-legged. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah. I think you've articulated it very well. I just think it's just wrong. It's just so wrong. It's immoral. It's just not fair. It's just absolutely.
It was a genuinely big competition once, Chris, and they've done everything, starting with Wenger and Ferguson, who decided to play kids' sides in the competition. They also did it to the FA Cup disgracefully. You know, I honestly, I think. These tournaments, you've now got their fans saying, we're in Europe, we shouldn't even be playing in these tournaments. You know, that'll be the next step. Or maybe the next step will be to make sure they don't play each other in the 4th round as well. You know, maybe give them a bye to the semi-final, because after all, they are the big clubs.
Yeah, honestly, I'm deflated. I'm totally deflated after, you know, hearing that we had Liverpool. You know, it's funny because, you know, when you get those cup games where you play really shit, but you manage to scrape a win, you think, you know what? Sometimes when you actually win a cup,
names on the
you
cup.
have you know, I mean, I know it's very early, it's the second round, whatever, right? But sometimes you kind of think that, you think, you know what? Bournemouth were better than us. They've got a shitter team than us, but yet we still won. So you know what? That's done, right? Move on to the next game. But then to get fucking Liverpool, I mean, I couldn't. It's laughable. Honestly, it was absolutely laughable. I heard it on the car on the way back, and I just, what's the point? What's the point? But you know what? I'm a little bit deflated about it now, but I'm absolutely sure and positive that by the time that game comes along,
you'll definitely buy tickets.
Yeah, but I'll be stupidly confident, like I was when we went up to, and because you know how confident I was for that game last year. But you know, here's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And I talked about Moyes, but I don't believe Lopetegui is the type of manager that's going to throw a game like Moyes did up at Anfield.
No, I don't think so.
He ain't going to do that. So you never know. You never ever know. And I know that we've said is it 54 years now, Gal? I'm not entirely sure. I lost track of how many years it is. Once.
No, we beat them a few years ago, didn't we?
Yeah, but that was in the 2015-16 season. So it's once in 54 years we've beaten them at Anfield, right?
It was 1958 the last time we beat them before that.
That's 54 years. It's too late for me.
Hold on. So 1958. So that's what, 42 plus 24, 66. Yeah, 66 years.
God, it's not 66 years.
Well, it is, because it was 58 years when we beat them last time.
Christ almighty. Apart from, obviously, when we beat them up at Anfield, was it 3-0 in the 2015-16 season? That's the last time that we
beat them. It was 58 years then.
Jesus Christ. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But to my point, right, I know we say it every single year, and we did say it in the 2015-16 season, we beat them that year, and we do have a new manager. New players, who knows? Maybe Lopetegui is going to be the type of manager that's really going to go for this game. You know, maybe this is the opportunity for him to do this.
I think Again, I'm guilty of getting overexcited. I got overexcited before the first game. I got overexcited after the Palace game. I expected today to be a festival of football and seeing all the new players integrate and look brilliant. But I just got to call me, I just got to stop it. Just got to behave myself and reset my expectations. Fucking 3 games in, the geezer's not a magician, is he? But one thing I'll say is he's not a magician, but some of those performances from those players were eerily reminiscent of what we saw last year, and I don't really want to see it again. Let's quickly do the player ratings very, very quickly, right?
Yeah.
Let's take it in turns. Fabianski.
I'll give him. Do you know what? I'll give him an 8. I think he had a good game today. He didn't really do anything wrong.
Yeah, I think he's he would have been my man of the match. I think. Next, Soufal. I think. Look, effort. It was great, but he was so slow, so painfully slow. There's a bit missing with Soufal now. His legs are not there. Yeah. So I'll give him a 6, an average game for effort. Kilman.
Just before we get to Kilman, I'll give Soufal a 5, and that's stretching it. Honestly, I thought he was poor against Kilman. For me, he was my man of the match, if I'm being honest. So I'd bear in mind I gave Fabianski an 8. I'd have to give Kilman a 9, I suppose, because I thought he was their standout player. So I'll have to go 9 for Kilman.
I think he deserves it. Part of my thinking with Fabianski is you don't get many games, and yet he was dead sharp.
Yeah. He was. Yeah, he was. And you know what? Funny enough, some of his distribution was pretty quick tonight. That's very rare to see Fabianski, do that. But on a few occasions he did that. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
It was, but he does tend to lump it long, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. But sometimes he would just hold on to it for about 5 minutes before he even lumped it, didn't he?
I know.
Tadibo, what do you think? What do you give him?
Tadibo, I weren't that impressed, to be honest. I'll go 5 on him.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I'll give him a 5, definitely.
It's his first game. He's not used to the pace. It was a Premier League team. We weren't used to the pace of it. He did sort of all right in patches, but a bit crap in others.
Yeah, so, he'll improve. He'll improve. Give him a 5. But you know what?
Listen, he comes with a reputation of a complete player, just like Kudus did, right? That we were lucky to get. So he will improve. He will fulfil his potential. Who else we've got in defence? So we had AWB.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, look, he had a solid game. Bearing in mind he was playing in an unorthodox position and playing left back, I thought he had a very, very good game. I'll give him an 8.
I'd give him an 8 as well. Yeah. I think that's a good call. The 2 boys in midfield. I think this is where it's going to fall apart. So you got you take Ward-Prowse.
Ward-Prowse. Oh God, I'm going to give him a 4. I just thought he was too passive. He just offered nothing tonight. Absolutely nothing. Gave the ball away on a few occasions. Yeah, 4, and that's being kind.
Yeah, it was not a good performance for Ward-Prowse. And I'd like to know whether that was under instruction to play that way or not.
Yeah, I mean, if he played maybe a little bit further advanced, we'd be given a different number. But he didn't, and we can only give him that number based on how and where he played tonight. And for me,
it's the only place where we actually half like watching him, right? Is attacking midfield.
Yeah,
and when he's not there, he's just largely ineffective, isn't he? I'll take Souček. I think he had a very ineffective game today. I thought he was good the other day. I thought he was very ineffective today in that system because it ended up being quite a similar system. There was no press today or anything, was there? A very similar performance to what we saw too many times last year, and I don't want to see that repeated too often. I would give him. I'd give Souček a. Am I going to mark him as bad as Ward-Prowse today? Yeah, I will. I'll give him a 4 as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think both of them were as bad as each other, actually, for different reasons. So, yeah, I agree with you.
I hate seeing them both play together in the midfield. It's a recipe for disaster. One or the other, fine. Not both together.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So let's talk about Edson Alvarez, right? Because obviously he was tucked in behind. What would you give him?
I thought he did all right for his first game back, actually. He had his moments. He wasn't terrible. I'd say he was average. I'd give him a 6.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, on a few occasions he put in some good challenges, won the ball. You could see glimpses of what he was doing last season when he was at top form. So, but then he did fade out. He definitely faded out. He was out of the game for quite a spell, actually, in my opinion, particularly towards the end of the second half, which is obviously why he got substituted eventually because he's not match fit. But you know what?
No preseason, right?
He needs time. Yeah, he needs time, and so we know what you get. We all know what you get with Alvarez. So
I just love seeing him in the team. Love seeing him in the team.
Yeah.
Who's next? Bowen.
Bowen, oh God, I mean, tough for him. I mean, it wasn't a good night for him. I know he got the goal. I get that. I know he got the goal. He put in a lot of work, but gosh, I thought he was very ineffective first half. But a lot of that is by default of the fact that he dropped back, as we've already said. I'm going to give him, and I think this is being kind, I'm going to give him a 6, Gal. I'm going to give him a 6. I can't give him any more than that.
No,
I'll probably give him a 5 if he didn't score the goal. And
great
again,
handball, great slam dunk for
yeah,
the winner. Well done, Jared.
yeah.
Captain Jared strikes again, 2 in 2. And who else we got? Somerville.
Well, you can take this one because I took Bowen, all right?
Somerville. Yeah, look, I think he did all right. He's all effort. He very nearly scored in the second half. I'm not going to mark him down, right, because I think it's a bit unfair. He didn't get the service. He wasn't brought into the game. When he was brought into the game, he nearly scored. He did blaze that one over in the first half, which annoyed me. But again, I ain't gonna have a game because he's a young kid, right? I'll probably give him a 5.
Yeah, I think
Maybe a 6, a 5, maybe a 6.
I would give him a 6 based on his second half performance prior to him being subbed. But for the first half, he just didn't get enough of the ball. You know,
yeah, because when Paqueta and Co came on, and Rodriguez came on, he improved massively, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, I think 5 is fair based on the whole. Well,
yeah, but you got me debating with myself now. Is that might be unfair because he weren't given any service, and when he was better. No, I'll give him a 6 because I like him. I don't know. He's he's a fragile little Bambi character, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's going to have to grow. You know, he's physically, you know, he's going to have to grow into this team and give him time. But yeah, it was a tough night for him as well. He didn't get enough of the ball. What about Fulkrug? He's the last one, all right, up front.
Fulkrug is an odd one. I mean, he done a couple of good things. He was conceding free kicks quite a lot. I think the ref was all over him. I saw he elbowed someone in the back. He weren't getting away with anything, right? He was doing all the dirty stuff and he weren't getting away with it. He did create that chance for Somerville. He did get no service whatsoever. It's a difficult game to rate him because I'd like to see him in a game where he's got players up alongside him providing the legs, because he doesn't have the legs himself. He's got to have fast players around him providing the legs.
Yeah.
If that happens, I wonder what performance we'll get out of him. But don't let him just labour up front on his own with no service, because people are just going to get tired of that, right?
Yeah, I think I felt for him a bit tonight because, as I said, he was very isolated up there. He didn't have enough support around him. I like his hold-up play. I thought his hold-up play was pretty good tonight. But again, you know, I think it is very hard to judge him off that performance and the way that we played tactically tonight. It didn't really suit his style of play. He needs someone up there with him. You know, whether that's a Bowen or a Kudus or a Paqueta, just someone up there to help him. So, you know, they can run him behind, he can hold the ball up and play him in, right? Whatever. But that's more of his game. And, you know, he's even kind of publicly said that, you know, in pre-season in his interview. So, you know, again, someone that you're going to have to give time. He's going to have to get used to these different styles of the way we're playing against certain teams. But I think tonight it wasn't really set up for him to succeed, if I'm being honest with you. It just wasn't.
No, I totally agree. But other than that, I think Paqueta looked all right when he came on. I think not worth marking these players. Rodriguez was really good when he came on, I thought.
Yeah.
Mavropanos came on for Stevo. I thought he got given a torrid time, but I think he also recovered a couple of times. One in particular where he used his pace to get back and win the ball. So again, I'd sort of go, you know, pretty average performance from Mavropanos. It definitely wasn't outstanding. Who else came off the bench?
Well, I think, look, put it this way: Paqueta, Rodriguez, Kudus. Those 3 players.
This was fantastic.
Yeah, they changed the game for us. They gave us not that we were looking particularly a threat, because we weren't, right? We had hardly any opportunities. I think Bowen had a decent shot that the keeper tipped around the post. But aside from that, I can't think of any really, really good opportunities. I can't. But I do believe that Kudus, Paqueta, Rodriguez helped turn that game. You know, I think they did. Paqueta started to play little, you know, clever little, you know, creative passes. Obviously, which led to the goal, you know, when it went to Kudus, I think, and then Kudus took the shot, and obviously it went off Bowen's hand. So for me, those 3 players, they did the job, right? They came on, it had an impact. It definitely had an impact. But then how could it not have a positive impact when you're playing Souček and Ward-Prowse in midfield? It just gave us a bit more kind of creativity and
But this is where it takes me back to ask a question, because the substitutions were quite late, like to get Kudus on.
Yeah.
They were quite late in the 70-something minute, weren't they? And you're sort of thinking, was this by design? Did you set out to play Ward-Prowse and Souček in these roles in such a negative way and not give any service to those front players, or was it something they just defaulted to, a default setting? Because then you bring Paqueta and Kudus on and you go after the game, right? Completely change the game. So was it two separate sets of instructions, or was it just that Ward-Prowse wasn't delivering on what he'd been asked to do?
Again, I don't think we'll know the answer to that question, right? We won't know. Only Lopetegui will know that.
Yeah.
Either way you look at it, Ward-Prowse was poor tonight. The only other change that I would have liked to have seen, and I think I called this one at halftime to you, was I wanted Soufal off, Wan-Bissaka right back, Emerson left back. That would have been a lot more balanced at the back. Yeah. And I just think that didn't help. When I saw this coming back out in the second half with no changes, I was disappointed. I think at that point we should have made a change. We didn't. It took us a while to do it. But you know what? We got away with it. We got the win. Of course, I would have definitely liked to have seen changes earlier. I definitely would have liked to. But hey ho, look, we won and we got Liverpool. So
hey.
let's look at the positives. You know, that's what we've got to do now.
I'll tell you what. I think it's in September sometime. Well, I might have a look and see if there's. Oh no, it'd be a bloody evening game. You're not going to be out again. There'll probably be one train back afterwards. I think the only option to go up there is like a coach, isn't it?
Well, no, I mean you could be a bit of a muppet and drive up and drive back the same night.
It's too far. It's too far to drive back from there same day.
I might do it. I've already said to my boy I'm considering it. I know. Yeah. Well, do you know he's very clever. I don't know if I mean, with my son, he's always like, yeah, but Dad, you know what? This could be the game where we beat them at Liverpool, and you know what? He should be in sales.
That's in your mind already. He's planting faults. He's planting faults. He knows how to manipulate you.
I love his optimism, because I was like that for years.
Yeah.
I've had it trained out of me, because now I'm a little bit more realistic. But now he's bringing me back. I'm almost living vicariously through him, because he's saying to me, Dad, imagine if we didn't go, but we beat Liverpool in the cup.
You're in denial, right? You're in denial. You're trying to talk yourself out of being an optimist, but there's no way you'd be considering going up there if you weren't.
There's a picture.
It's FOMO, isn't it? It's fear of missing out, isn't it?
It is. But you know what? I mean, after last year, you think I would have learnt my lesson. But I do. I think there's a strong chance that I'll go. There is. You should go as well. I think it'd be a laugh. Going up there.
Yeah, I might. I've never taken a West Ham coach anywhere. I've always driven. I've got the train.
We can do a carpool karaoke, girl.
That work. Let's do it. Let's see what night it's on, because I heard a rumor earlier that it's on a Monday night. That's no good.
Yeah, I mean midweek. It's going to be. If it's a Monday, it's a Monday. But do you know what? Whatever night it is, whatever day it is, I'm probably going to try and go anyway. So
yeah, same. Yeah. Got to do it, because when we get to Wembley, you need them points, wouldn't you?
You do, and do you know what? I'm one of those people that, again, I don't want to look back in regret. I don't want to, even though I do look back on lots of regrets from certain games that I have made the effort to go to, but I still believe. I'm still that optimist. I still believe that you never know. Well, that's the beauty of supporting West Ham, as we know, right? You do never know. I know that we don't have a great record at Liverpool.
No, anything can happen. Anything can happen. We've got a new manager. This manager's got some kind of tactical nous to play teams in a different way. We'll find out more about that on Saturday. But again, I think it's with Liverpool, the difficulty is, I guess, they will play a load of kids. The kids will be all right. Will that tempt Lopetegui to play a slightly weakened side? Hope not.
But will they, though? Will Liverpool do that? Because again, new manager.
They did last year. They played a load of kids. Even in the final last year, they played the kids.
But again, it's a new manager, Gal, right? Same as us. New manager.
He might not care about the League Cup at all, right?
Look, you know what? The way I would look at it is this. You've got a new manager in a club. You want to win a trophy. You want to win a trophy. So for me, I think that he's going to want to win that game. Absolutely. I don't necessarily think he's going to field a team of kids. I think he'll put some big hitters in there, as will we as well. But perhaps my optimism is purely down to the fact that we have a new manager and new players. If Moyes was managing and we were playing, Liverpool in the third round, there's absolutely no chance in hell that I'd be thinking to myself, you know what, maybe. But at the moment, I'm kind of a maybe. Maybe there could be a miracle. But yeah, I'm still a bit pissed off about it. I can't lie. But, it's the beauty of supporting West Ham, isn't it?
Anyway, look, it's just gone 20 to 1 in the morning. It's probably about time I went to bed.
Yeah, I think so. I've got work in the morning,
So good morning, everyone. I'm going to release this about 8:30, and
it is the morning now, so you can actually officially say good morning. So
yeah, you can. But luckily, I've got 12 more days off work. So hey,
yeah, nice one, Gal. I don't.
Yeah.
Enjoy your time off, mate. Enjoy
Yeah.
your time off, and I'll see you at the City at the weekend.
Absolutely. See you later.
Yeah,
Cheers, Chris.
have a good one. Cheers. Bye bye.
Evening all. Bye bye.